Chapter 31, Becoming a Therapist, Becoming Myself. Graduation from USC came with no uncertainty this time. When I stepped off the stage in May 1996, I finally knew where I was going, to Bryn Mawr Psychiatric Hospital in Jacksonville, North Carolina, my first full-time position as a therapist. The weekend before I started, I gathered the residents at Sherwood Village in the common room. As you know, I told them, I'm about to finish my master's degree, and I'll be starting work as a therapist next week. I smiled, trying to sound confident. I'll miss seeing all of you. One woman nodded. We understand, Bruce. You'll help a lot of people. Her words stayed with me. Leaving felt like trading one kind of family for another. Bryn Mawr sat just outside the Marine base, but my unit mostly served women. Another wing handled chemical dependency. Ours admitted people only when they were suicidal or unable to function safely on the outside. Carol, the other therapist, had been there for years. My supervisor, a non-clinician, oversaw productivity and insurance reviews. For a for-profit hospital, the phrase billable hours carried more weight than human suffering. Still, behind every chart was a person, and that was where I chose to focus. My colleague Carol received half the patients on the unit, and I was assigned the other half. Victoria, a patient on the unit. Victoria initially was assigned to Carol. She soon asked me to be her therapist on the unit. Her diagnosis, borderline personality disorder, made her a challenge for staff who valued compliance over connection. She needed patience, not control. When the request came, my supervisor said, "It's more a case management role now. Her Medicare days are maxed out and Bryn Mawr doesn't take Medicaid. We'll need to find placement elsewhere." In other words, we're not getting paid. I worked with her anyway. Victoria could be volatile, even sarcastic, but beneath that was terror of abandonment. She would test, retreat, then circle back for reassurance. It wasn't manipulation, it was survival. When the staff scheduled an intervention to confront her about perceived problems they had with Victoria, I decided to attend. The idea was to present a united front and document compliance for the insurance file. Chairs were arranged on one side of the table for the treatment team. The lone chair opposite was for Victoria. When she entered, eyes defiant but frightened, I couldn't sit with the group. I pulled a chair to her side instead. The conversation moved to a discussion about their expectation that she attend the therapy groups that were offered by me and my colleague, Carol, the other therapist on the unit. Her answer was simple and straightforward. "Fine, I'll go to Bruce's groups," she said. The implication was clear. Carol, the other therapist, did not create a therapeutic atmosphere for Victoria, and she wasn't going to be forced to attend her groups. Victoria would attend only the groups that I facilitated. Karen, another patient. I had noticed Karen in my group sessions, a thin black woman in her mid-20s who sat so still she seemed almost lifeless, a zombie, as if something inside her had been turned off. In a room of 30 or 40 patients, her suffering caught my attention and begged the question, "What happened to you?" That afternoon, Mary, the intern working under me, appeared at my doorway with Karen beside her. Her eyes said what words didn't. "Let's go see Bruce. He can help." Mary had completed the intake, facts for the chart, but not for the heart. What she couldn't gather was life itself. "I can stay if you want," Mary offered. Karen shook her head. "No, I don't want you to see." Her tone carried the undeserved shame that trauma so often leaves behind. I moved my chair a little closer, not too close, but close enough for her to feel I was there beside her. I glanced at the chart. "You've been raped," I said gently. "I'm so sorry someone did that to you." I can help." For a long moment she stared at the floor. Then her voice cracked. It wasn't the first time. "My father and my brother." The words seemed to scrape their way out of her, heavy and raw. "I'm so sorry," I said again. "I can help if you'd like that." I explained that we would review what happened, but from a place of safety, like watching a movie in a theater. "You'll see it," I said, "but you won't have to live it again." She hesitated, then asked, "Will you come with me?" "My voice will go with you," I said. "I'll be right beside you." She closed her eyes, picturing the screen as I spoke softly, reminding her she was safe. "You're not there anymore," I said. "You're here with me." Suddenly her hand reached out and grabbed mine. Her grip was firm, trembling. "It's okay," I said. "You're safe now." Gradually her breathing slowed. Her shoulders eased. When she opened her eyes again, the blankness had lifted. The spark that trauma had extinguished flickered back to life, and, astonishingly, there was a faint smile on her face. "Thank you," she whispered. "No," I said. "I thank you for trusting me." Later, Mary passed by the door and caught a glimpse of Karen's face. She didn't have to ask how it went. She could see it. Karen was a different person, alive again. The storm. By early September, the air hung heavy with warning. Hurricane Fran was gathering strength off the coast. I was in session with Victoria when my phone lit up with Lynn's name, an interruption so unusual it felt like fate tapping my shoulder. "What are you doing?" she demanded, voice sharp with fear. "I'm working," I said, half smiling at my own obviousness. Victoria laughed softly at the exchange. Then I heard the urgency in Lynn's breath. "I'm leaving now," I said, standing. I realized what I should have already known. I wasn't alone. I was part of a family. I was connected to Lynn. I had known this for years, yet sometimes the imprints of the past rise up unexpectedly in the present. The life I'd known growing up had taught me that I didn't matter to anyone. Those messages, etched deep from the beginning, could still surface in moments of stress, ghosts of an old truth that no longer applied. Rain pummeled the car on the drive home. At one flooded stretch, the engine sputtered, and I realized how unthinkable it was that my life could end in this storm, how deeply it would hurt Lynn. For years, I'd lived as though my safety mattered only to me. That moment ended it. I was part of someone's life now. She was waiting in the doorway when I arrived, hair damp, eyes wide. "You're soaked," she said, half angry, half relieved. We spent the night listening to the wind batter the house. I wasn't afraid, but I was there for Lynn. Safety, I realized, wasn't the absence of danger, but the presence of love. Lynn and Carolyn. That winter, Lynn's coughing worsened. One morning, she said quietly, "I think it's time to call the doctor." Within hours, she was hospitalized for intravenous antibiotics. I sat beside her as the nurse searched for a vein, her hand cool in mine. We didn't try to talk it away. Silence said enough. A week later, she was home again, and life resumed its rhythm, as though we could pretend cystic fibrosis wasn't a terminal illness. Around that time, she met Carolyn, another woman with CF, who lived nearby, and, like Lynn, seemed vibrant and full of life. Their friendship lightened her mood. On one visit, the movie Titanic came up. Lynn said she couldn't understand why Rose would go back onto the sinking ship for the man she loved. Carolyn and I stated that we would both jump back onto the ship. Granted, I hoped I would never have to jump back onto a sinking ship. In addition, deep love takes longer to develop than a cruise across the Atlantic Ocean. Yet, I could not imagine, no matter how practical it might be, waving goodbye to Lynn if she was stuck on the ship. By year's end, I understood something new. Therapy wasn't only about understanding pain. It was about staying when storms came, literal or otherwise.